All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I got too many cameras set up. Got everything set up in the way. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to another edition of Wealth Talk Tuesdays. Actually, I need to fix this one. Let me end that. Delete video. Delete video. Do it like this. All right. Like that. Like that. All right, it's better. Okay. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am running a little haphazard this morning. I almost did not make it on time, trying to get the 2:30 a.m. feeding done, and I actually did not go to bed. I didn't even lay it down until probably 1:05. So we're running off of, I got up, laid down about 1:05, got up about 2:16. So we're running on about an hour's sleep right now. As you can see, my eyes are pretty much bloodshot red, but it's all good. Just wanted to make sure that I got here on time. We'll deliver our weekly motivation, and we'll get moving with the rest of the week. So give it another minute or two for everybody to join, and we'll see if I can get this message right this morning. I've been thinking about it, and just replaying it over my mind, and just trying to figure out, exactly what I wanted to say. And there's just so many things that come to mind around this particular topic that there are a lot of break-off conversations that I think could be had. So we'll see. I'll give it about another minute. If you are logged on Instagram, I appreciate you for logging on for another edition of the 3 a.m. Club. If you are watching on Facebook, I thank you for logging on for another edition of the 3 a.m. Club. Make sure you drop a hello, a good morning, a grand rising, a what's up in the comments so that I know you're watching, especially if you're watching on Instagram, because they don't do that great of a job with showing all of the people who are watching at the time that they're watching. So I definitely want to make sure that I acknowledge you and that I know you're on. It definitely helps with me being able to deliver, the message. And I like, of course, acknowledging and interacting with you as you've made the sacrifice and the commitment to log on at 3 a.m. And with that said, it is officially 3:03 a.m. and we are at another edition of the 3 a.m. Club. Now, I just put the baby down, and I hope that she does not make her inaugural 3 a.m. debut today. But it's a small chance. It's a small chance that I may have to run upstairs and grab the baby. So if you see me take off really quickly, that's the reason why. I'm just taking off to pick up the baby, and I'll bring her down and let her say hello. Hopefully she'll be in a good mood. She always is. So I'll grab her and she can make her debut and say hello, and we'll wrap up. But do me a favor also, if you're watching this on Facebook, definitely take the time to actually share this video. Again, if you're watching on Instagram, you're watching on Facebook, definitely drop a comment in the comment section so that I know you're watching. Anyway, today, as always, every Monday, we've been doing this now for, it's been like 4 or 5 months. Every week, every Monday at 3 a.m., we've been getting together to have just conversation about the grind, conversation about the elevation, conversation. What's up, James, man? Good to see you, brother. Just conversation about, the difficulties in trying to reach that next level in your life. And typically, I give this conversation from the standpoint of an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur. It's crazy to really think about this, but I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. And if you watch some of the other videos that that I posted during the 3 a.m. club, my experience with entrepreneurship actually spans longer than 10 years, long before I even really understood and knew what entrepreneurship was. But I find that entrepreneurs, I mean, they're just like everyday people. They are everyday people, and the experiences and the challenges that you go through as an entrepreneur are really the same for anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, for anybody who's really just trying to get to that next level. And then not only get to that next level, one of the things we'll talk about today is, getting to that next level in your life, but making sure that you don't become a victim of complacency. So today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about becoming a victim of your own success, right? Becoming a victim of your own success. Now, I don't know, I haven't talked about it a lot over the last couple of years, and as time goes on, I'll start to talk about it a lot more. But when you look at an entrepreneur's journey and you look at the roadmap, right? The roadmap is not straight, just like life. Life is not straight. It's this roadmap filled with detours. It's filled with peaks. It's filled with valleys. It's filled with straightaways. And for me, I've gone through in different ways, right? In some ways, I've gone through some valley experiences. In other ways, I've gone through some peak experiences, literally all at the same time. It's kind of like if you've ever been to a place like Cincinnati. I've got a lot of friends and family in Cincinnati. In a place like Cincinnati, you can experience, literally, there's this running joke, like you can experience all 4 seasons in the same day, right? I've been through that kind of experience, except in the realm of entrepreneurship, where I have experienced those peaks and those valleys and those straightaways, all in the same day. And if you think about it, you probably can relate that there are days where you've had extremely high highs, and in that same day, you've experienced an extremely low low. Well, anyway, during the last really couple of years, the last 2 years, man, really the last 2 years, definitely 2.5 years. I talked about this a little bit, have been some really difficult years for me for various reasons. And as I look back and I reflect on, okay, whenever something goes wrong, it's always good to reflect back and try to pinpoint, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And initially, I used to look at the roadblocks and the challenges I had during that period of time. I used to look at them in the context. First, you look at it in the context of failure. You're like, man, I failed, right? Then you realize that, of course, keeping proper perspective, there is no such thing as failure. And even in the context of, you describing or labeling something as a failure, in order to move forward and in order to grow, you literally have to fail yourself forward. And so that's what that mindset is, what turns every perceived failure into an opportunity for growth, because that only through the difficulty of learning, only through the trial and error, do you actually experience growth. But moving beyond that, as my perspective and understanding changed about who I was and the different things that I experienced, one of the things that really stood out was this idea that I became complacent and I became a victim of my own success. A victim of my own success. And so that's what I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit today. When we experience, when we're in pursuit of our goals, when we're in pursuit of a better quality of life, every time that you grow and every time that you get to this new level, you have a new perspective, right? You have new opportunities, you have new power, you have new strength, and without realizing it, you kind of you first escape that first layer or that previous zone of comfortability, and then you grow into this new environment, and then over time that new environment starts to become an environment where you're complacent, even though you're at a higher level, because you're only supposed to stay, at each level for a certain period of time, and sometimes you really don't know what that length of time is that you're going to be, in that particular level at your, in your particular life. But what tends to happen is we become a victim of our own success, because we get to a point and we become comfortable, even when we become comfortable without even knowing it. And through that comfortability, we start to lose momentum. And of all the things that I've learned over the last couple of years, especially, but of all of the things that I learned about in that particular experience, I think it was the momentum that was lost, and that momentum was lost due to the complacency. And one of the beautiful things about going through the challenges, when I went through my challenges, was that it prepared me for times like right now, when we're in this global pandemic and lives are being disrupted. Lives have been disrupted and are being disrupted. There are a lot of people who are being forced to wake up to the reality that they have been complacent, and now they are being forced to deal with the reality of that complacency, and they're being forced to deal with it when they were totally not expecting it, right? Like myself included, there are areas where my level of complacency over the last couple of years have been further exposed, and so it helps bring better context and understanding. But in this environment, being prepared for me personally, being prepared, or even having the mindset of, okay, I went through my valley experience. I had my peaks and my valleys, sometimes on the very same day. It prepared me to have the strength of character, right, to deal with any level of adversity that a lot of people may be dealing with now, and then being able to develop the tools and the tactics and the wherewithal to push past that those valley and those peak experiences, so that now I could capitalize on the environment in which we find ourselves in, because I've moved past that particular stage in my life, and now I'm regaining that momentum. And then in regaining that momentum, I'm actually starting to elevate and go on to the next level, in my life. But when you lose that momentum and you become complacent, that's when you start to sow the seeds of, how can I say this? You become complacent and you start to sow the seeds for a future that you are totally unaware of and totally unexpected, and you aren't even thinking about it. You have your blinders on because the situation and the environment that you find yourself in right now is so comfortable, right? It could be like your winning season. You're like, man, I'm winning. I've been winning for 2 years. Or I've been winning for 3 years, or you feel like things are never going to change, right? You're like, oh man. And so you don't really think past the comfortability that you are starting to build into this particular moment in your life. And then a year down the line, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, the situation changes, and it changes. Maybe it changes like now during this pandemic, where a lot of people are being forced to realize the level of complacency that they have been living in, and they're being forced to deal with that totally unexpectedly, and not as a result, particularly of things that they did directly. And then there are times when the situation changes and you realize that you've become complacent. And what you're seeing after a couple of years is the result of the complacency and the things that you started to do as a part of that comfortability and being complacent during that period of comfortability, if that makes sense. So I'll give you, let me see if I can give you a quick example. Like one of the biggest examples in terms for me, and this is an easy one. It's very black and white. Like, I talk a lot about physical health. I talk a lot about, getting into shape, making sure you're taking care of your body, taking care of your mind. Well, during my period of complacency, right? During my period of complacency, I totally neglected, my physical health. And I neglected my physical health so much till I got to a point where my mind and my body were totally at odds. And what I mean by totally at odds, my body was here and my mind was here, and my mind knew that my body, that the two should have been more joined together. They should have been, right here at center. And because there was that conflict, and I was totally separated, I would treat my body one way, and the way that I treated my body was in conflict with how my mind knew that I should have been treating it. And so I wasn't able to coalesce my energies and operate in unison in terms of what my mind wanted to do and what my mind knew we should have been doing, and what my body wanted to do and what my body, should have been doing. So it was just this, this constant internal conflict that really, when you understand energy and you study energy, when your life is in conflict in these various areas, you're not adding energy, right? The momentum, you're not adding momentum to your situation. You're actually subtracting. You're subtracting energy and you're subtracting momentum. So ultimately what happened was I got to a point where essentially, like you hit rock bottom, right? You feel like shit. Mentally, you're not as healthy as you could be. Physically, your physical body is not as healthy as it could be. And you reach a point where you're like, man, I know that I should be doing better. I know I can be doing better. And so the end result of that was basically a lack of focus, a lack of self-discipline, a lack of motivation, right, at the levels that it should have been and that it could have been to have more, again, momentum in my own personal life, my own business life. But that conflict over it, it was a slow process, right? It was a slow process. That complacency is a slow process. And it's not until, again, something happens or you wake up one day and you realize, like, yo, this is not where, I wanted to be. This is not how I wanted to be feeling. This is not how I wanted to be looking. When you have that type of experience, that's when you can look back and you can realize that, okay, I was living in conflict. My energies were not in line. And over time, slowly, I began to lose that momentum, and that loss of momentum spread itself out into various aspects, into various areas of my life. It's easy to articulate, what a lack of focus can do, right? A lack of focus can take you from saying, okay, I don't go to the, and this is, again, black and white examples. Instead of you spending as much time in the office, this is one thing that happened to me. Instead of being as disciplined as you could be, and as much as you should be in terms of being in the office and how much you are in the office and how consistently and all that type of stuff. Instead, I got comfortable, right? The business is good. The money's flowing. I can take a little bit more time to do some of the leisure activities that I wanted to do. And it's good at that particular point in time. But what happens, again, is that complacency starts to sow seeds that ultimately one day is going to bear fruit. And over time, what that complacency planted was a fruit of lack of focus, a fruit of lack of discipline, right? The fruit of inconsistency. So when I talk, so just talking about the environment of, again, becoming a victim of your own success. When I can having gone through it, I can literally see it in other people, and I can see, people are at the height of their success. And you don't have to be. I mean, this is in any age, right? Any age that you find yourself in, at some point you're always going to hit that ceiling of the height of success up until that point in your life. So I can look at somebody that's 20, I can look at somebody that's 25, I can look at somebody that's 30, I can look at somebody that's 40, and I can see the height of their success up until that point in their life. And then I can literally see the seeds that are being planted and the seeds that are being sowed of complacency that's ultimately going to bear fruit at a later point in time. So try to be aware of this, try to be aware of how you are becoming complacent. Try to remain aware of the areas in which you can grow. Try to continue to be aware of the number one activity that is going to produce the results, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's in your business life. Try to maintain focus over the 20% and not the 80%. That's another good example. When you become complacent, the 80% of things that don't matter, they begin to outweigh the 20% of things that matter the most. And so if you can keep that 20%, of activity and focus, and you can continually improve upon that, increase your effectiveness, increase your efficiency, increase your ability to execute it with ease, then that will go a long way in helping you to not fall victim to complacency. And then also remember to set your sights and your goals high. And if you meet them, reevaluate your goals, reevaluate your priorities, reevaluate the alignment of your life, and continue to assess and reassess if you are moving towards that defined picture, that defined goal that you have in your life, and not the defined picture and goal that you have at 25 and you're 25, but the defined picture and the goal that is several years ahead of you. That's 5 years ahead of you. That's 10 years ahead of you. That's 20 years ahead of you. So when you can keep that longer view in perspective and not put it on the back burner, it'll help you keep things in the perspective that you still have more running to do. So you can enjoy that height and that level of success, but complacency won't become your friend because you've kept that longer term vision at the forefront of your mind and at the forefront of your actions, so that you can continue to maintain a little bit of that momentum and hopefully not lose it, but start to continue to build upon that momentum, so that complacency does not detract from your momentum and ultimately stop your momentum, and you find yourself in a situation where you have to start all over again. So I hope that made sense. I hope it made sense. I think it made sense. It made sense to me, but again, it is 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working on about an hour's sleep right now. So anyway, I appreciate you for logging on for another edition of the 3 a.m. Club. If you would like to check out any of the other 3 a.m. Club videos, if you're watching this on Instagram, you can check my Instagram timeline. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can check out my Facebook fan page, or you could check out my YouTube page. I got a bunch of videos on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Legacy in Motion, the same as my handle on Instagram. You could also find my Facebook fan page by the same handle as Legacy in Motion. If you're watching this on Facebook, do me a favor, like the video, share the video. If you're watching on Instagram, do me a favor, share the video. I appreciate you all, and I will see you again later this week, as well as next Monday for another edition of the 3 a.m. Club. Peace. Take care.